expected a bounce back after that poor performance against Buffalo the week before. They took the Rams right down to the wire.
The Cardinals are the top spot at the moment. That's not going to hold. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals are not going to win this division, but they are 5-4. After that, you've got the Rams, the Niners, each 4-4. The Niners, God willing, man. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey ever does come back.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Are they definitely done with Daniel Jones from this point? And any shot that Dable is off the sidelines, meaning he gets fired before next season?
They have a general manager in Joe Shane. Every big move has to get approval by ownership. So look, the bottom line is they don't know who their future quarterback is past this season. Tommy DeVito's clearly not the answer. They don't have it. Drew Lock's not the answer.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
A lot of concern, I would say, for Georgia in Carson Beck. 3 interceptions once again. His third 3-interception game in the last 5 for UGA.
You can argue if they had Alex Orji as their starting quarterback for Georgia, they would be perfect and unbeaten right now just by not turning the football over and running it with your talented backfield.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome in. This is Pro Football Today. Thrilled to be here with you. I am Adam Kaufman, joined as always by Tom Vecchio and the Sportsbook King, the Sportsbook Consigliere, Dave Sharapan. Guys, we have ourselves an interesting game. I think a more interesting game tonight than a lot of people are giving it credit for. It is the Bengals and the Cowboys. Now, you can look at this one, obviously, and say, well, come on. I mean, this is not nearly as appetizing a dessert to cap all things Week 14 in the NFL after what we saw yesterday, after what we saw Thursday. But this is not, let's say, Jaguars-Titans, a completely meaningless game. This game still does have playoff ramifications in that these two teams are mathematically alive. Now, you could quibble over their realistic chances with the Bengals at 4-8, losers of 2 in a row, and 4 of 5. The Cowboys on the other side, 5-7, absolutely putrid in Dallas at 1-5. But you know what? I'm holding out hope, Dave. I am holding out hope that we get a representative performance, especially out of Cincinnati, a team that I still have a playoff future on, and I am holding out hope that they are going to find a way to go on a run in this very top-heavy, crowded AFC. What are your expectations for tonight?
Boy, oh boy, that was a really, really nice hype for a game that only gamblers could love. I mean, and you went with Jaguars and Texans, and I thought, or Jaguars and Titans, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah. It was so bad I forgot who played in it. I mean, it might as well have been the Texans because it was a bye week appearance. 10-6, and if you were going to try to equate that game and this game, I'd have told you you're crazy, because this game tonight is already being bet like the Buffalo and Rams game ended up. It's over, and I couldn't wait to see you two, because I said this is going to be one where I can't wait to see. Now, you guys come with good stuff every week, and we'll have it in the same game parlay, and we'll have it and like it, love it, or leave it, and we'll also look at we'll look at the ramifications of a game like this in Back to the Futures, where we're going to look at different future prices and things like that. But I made a bet with someone on the side that said the boys are coming tonight with the games and with the props and with the plays. and there's not going to be one under. Not one. So I challenge you both between now and exactly 1 hour from now to find us an under anything, Adam.
All right. Well, I know that Tom here is not going to give you an under on the total. That's for damn sure. And we're going to talk about the total. Save any sort of unders that you might be already thinking about, Tom, for a little while from now. I want to get into this game on the whole because the Bengals, they are laying 4.5 points, which, obviously has come down a little bit because people have convinced themselves that money on the Cowboys makes sense. The books are pushing Dallas. The public is pushing Bengals. And I don't understand how one could convince themselves to bet Dallas. I really don't, even though, again, that team is playing a little bit better. As we know, a putrid defense on the Bengals side. They have not, they can score. They'll run it up with you. They'll get into a shootout, which again speaks to that total that we'll spend some time on. But I don't know. Can you make an argument? Can you talk yourself into, yeah, I think Cooper Rush and company at home are going to cover this, maybe are even live to win it?
I would make the argument that we're going to see some points. Like you said, I am on the over today with a good position on that. I think the move towards the Cowboys simply has to do with the fact that people look at the Bengals and they're saying, I know what the Bengals are. They're a great offense. They're a horrible defense. And ultimately, I don't want to lay points with the Bengals. So I'm simply going to be taking the other side. And at no point am I in love with the idea of betting on the Cowboys, but that's ultimately where I am when it comes to my pick'em pool, right? I have the Cowboys in my pick'em pool. I don't actually have a bet on the Cowboys. I am on the over. I do have an under when it comes to a player. We will get to that a bit later, Dave, but I think we're in for some points tonight. I think we are in for some points tonight. Like you said, these teams aren't mathematically eliminated, but let's just call it what it is. They are. Both of these teams are eliminated. So let's get out there and score some points. Hopefully we see them be a little bit more aggressive, an extra fourth down try here or there, because why not? Right? We're at the point in the season. I also want to focus in on Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. There's a chance that Burrow leads the league in passing, and we see Jamar Chase lead the league in receiving yards. So let's get some yards going. Let's get the points going. We know that they can score. They're 0-4 in games where they score 30-plus points. So, Adam, like you said, they will turn this into a shootout, absolutely. I think we're in for a fun game tonight. Doesn't have to be the highest quality. We'll probably see some turnovers, whatever it might be. But let's get some points. Let's get some overs and one straight under, which we'll get to a little bit later.
So you guys know I am someone who loves trends. Let me throw you some trends for this game, pardon me, that are applicable. So how about this? Joe Burrow is 18-9 ATS, 18-9 against the spread after a loss. The Bengals have lost 7 of 8 games this year by 1 score. Obviously, we know they keep things close, but Burrow historically does bounce back from defeats well against the spread. Now, Bengals, this one is overwhelming. It goes back quite a few years. The Bengals 71-43 against the spread on the road since 2011, 15-1 straight up and against the spread as a road favorite between 3 and 7 points since 2015. Now, I realize if we were sitting here talking baseball, you could say, cool, man, why don't you give me another stat about, how a team performs in the rain on a Wednesday night after a delay when it's I get it. We're nitpicking a little bit with some of these numbers, but a lot of it does, Dave, support Cincinnati here in this game.
I look at it differently. And again, I don't even know. I'll get the glasses here for the next segment, but I look at it all right, what should this number be with Cincy laying points on the road? Dallas is playing a little better. Cincy can't stop anybody. And yes, it's Cooper Rush. Okay. I think they're going to have success passing the ball. 3.5. 3.5 is the bottom of this. This is where I would have put the number, or maybe you make an argument for 4. But you have to come. The move came off the 5.5 because the teasers, anything that's live or that was open teasers or different things like that, the teaser number you were getting the Cowboys plus 11.5. I think we could all agree that a Bengals win by more than double digits would be pretty surprising. And I'll throw it back to you with this, Tom. Would you be more surprised by a Bengals win by 10 plus or more, or the Cowboys winning? Which one would surprise you more tonight?
Probably the Cowboys winning. I think the Bengals are the better team. Like you said, like that number 3.5 maybe gets bet down a little bit to 3. Like if this number was at 2.5 or 3, I would be on the Bengals. Absolutely. That's the spot that I'd be like. But again, as I said, like I don't want to lay 4.5 or 5 points with the Bengals because ultimately we know what they are. They're a very average team that may be tipping towards being good, but they're actually not there. So, I'm with you on what you said. Like, yeah, the Cowboys are, I think, the right side to bet tonight, but it's not like a safe or like an exciting thing to do.
No, I'm in alignment with Tom on that. I would absolutely, if you're choosing, which one I need to back, it is the Bengals to win by margin as opposed to the Cowboys coming up with the upset. Again, like we're not sitting here saying, yeah, the Bengals, they got a pretty good, like neither team has a particularly good defense. And then if I'm choosing between the offenses, again, Burrow, who's not going to win it, but he's playing at an MVP level, and Higgins and Chase Brown and all of these different, even Gesicki. On the other side, it's Cooper Rush. Yeah, you have CeeDee Lamb, but Rush and Dowdle. Ferguson coming off a concussion. Turpin. More on this one.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back here on PFT, joined by Vecchio and Sharapan. Kaufman here with you. We're talking Bengals, Cowboys, whether you like it or not. We got you for another hour here. This could be a fun one. I really do believe that, guys, because I think we're going to get points. You know, we're going to really dive into this, but we're looking at a total that has climbed from 47.5 at open up to over 50 at this point in time. And you could look at this from a variety of ways. You could look at it, Dave, and say trends. The overs are 12-4 on Monday Night Football this year. Or Tom, you could look at it and just say look at the defenses. Look at the Cincinnati offense. Look at who is playing in this game. Give me one reason why I would go under when I have, two teams that are allowing on the year 28-plus points per game. That is over the last 3 games climbed to Cincinnati 37.7 and Dallas 26.7. The Bengals as a team offensively are averaging about 28 points per game, so they can score. They have allowed, if this isn't enough numbers for you folks, Bengals have allowed at least 34 points each of their last 5 games. Combined totals in Cincinnati games have soared past this number up into the 60s. I'd love points in this one, Tom.
I absolutely love points as well, and that's what we're going to be seeing. Like there's enough talent on especially on the Bengals side of things. But yeah, we could say that Cooper Rush is an okay quarterback. I mean, he is a backup, all things considered. But their offense is back at full health. Like CeeDee Lamb may not be 100% healthy in the grand scheme of things, but Jake Ferguson is back. As long as we see a level of competence out of Cooper Rush, we're going to see a good game. Dating back to the game against the Texans, I don't expect Cooper Rush to throw for 350 yards, but I also don't expect him to be, sub 200 as we saw last week versus the Giants. We're going to be in a good spot where we see enough yards out of both of them that the offenses will be moving down the field, and we will see production from the vast majority of players tonight.
I'll add to Dave. Yeah, the Bengals are 9-3 to the over this year, and the Cowboys are 8-4 to the over. So we just generally see overs when these two teams are involved, whether they're going head-to-head or not.
When you look at it, and when you get those numbers like that, overwhelmingly, that's 2/3 of the games have gone over the total, and 75% of the Bengals games have gone over the total. You don't like those numbers as an odds maker. You want to be a lot closer to the middle. So you move the number and make it in the 50s, which is what they did now, and you still can't get a bet on the under. I'll ask you guys this. I mean, there's concerns about Dallas's offensive line. I got it right here. Thank you, Tommy. Zach Martin is out. Tyler Guyton is questionable, didn't practice all week. Does that concern you as far as if Dallas doesn't trade scores early and gets down multiple scores? This isn't college, and this is not like the other Dallas team did over the weekend. SMU got down 3 scores, almost 4 scores to Clemson and came back. Can Dallas come back if they start to if it gets to be a little bit of like, say Cincy gets up 17-3, 20-7, something like that? Does it get dangerous for the Cowboys?
It probably will, but that's a spot where we would see maybe the under ultimately does hit, maybe it doesn't hit, 50 points, but we still could see the yards pile up in garbage time, right? So maybe the game ends, you call it 30-17, somewhere around there. Like we are actually hitting the under 49.5, but there's a chance that we still see 250 plus from Cooper Rush just because he can throw the ball, and we still see 80 some odd yards from CeeDee Lamb and 50 from Jake Ferguson is back, et cetera, et cetera. So the game total may be in play, but the yardage totals, I think, will always be live, even if they do fall behind by 3 scores. And I think there's a legitimate reason, even if the Bengals are up, that Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, they want to run it up. They want to score the points. They want to get the yards. They want to have Joe Burrow be put as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I almost think the Bengals want to use this as a selling point. Like, Burrow leads the league in passing. Chase leads the league in receiving. If you give him a competent defense on the other side, use this as a selling point into free agency in the offseason, the Bengals are live to win. Like, they can be a legitimate threat if they have a competent defense. That's all Burrow really needs.
You guys telegraphed this conversation exactly where I wanted it to go. Let's say somebody is out there watching or listening to this show and saying, man, 50.5. Like if it were still 47.5, sure, I'll bite on that. But 50.5, that feels a little bit high. I'll offer an alternative. But first, let me ask you each a question. And with no explanation, just the one-word answer. Who wins this game, Tom?
Bengals.
Who wins this game, Dave?
Cowboys.
Okay, you don't mean that. Let's say we're in agreement that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this game. All right? Let's just say we believe that. Or, that you do believe a shootout is potential. Go to a team total. I'm going to Cincinnati's team total. I would rather play, and I think both are good plays. I absolutely support the over in this game overall. But if I'm choosing between over 50.5 or 51 or wherever we're at versus 27.5 for Cincinnati, 4 touchdowns out of Burrow and company. If they're down, I like it even more. If they're up, I still like it because I think there's a reason as to how they got there. I love that number. I would be shocked, Dave, if the Bengals don't get to 4 touchdowns in this game.
I think you're right. I think they get in the 30s, but I think 34-31. And again, last show, I gave out a couple scores, either 31-28 or 34-31, and apparently that ended right on one of the scores I said. Similar type game tonight. I really do. Now, it may come down to a field goal either way. I think Cincy could win and not cover, win by 3, or I think Dallas could win. It wouldn't surprise me. I wanted to throw it back to you guys. Is this the biggest disparity between quarterback passing yards that we've seen maybe all season? Like where someone is 40 yards apart? That's a lot of yards in a game like this. What a total in the 50s.
Talent level between the two.
I guess.
We would have to go back to maybe it was the Cooper Rush versus CJ Stroud game when the first game that Nico Collins came back. We'd have to double check, but that maybe have the similar type of scenario.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big disparity. There's no doubt about it. But again, well, I don't know, because it again is the whole like narrative. Tell yourself a story. Who's going to be winning, right? Because I was going to say I like Burrow's over better, but if we believe, as I do, that the Bengals are going to be ahead, Rush is going to be throwing the ball. So maybe you support his over, obviously. More on the way here on Pro Football Today.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. So I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. We greatly appreciate everybody out there listening, watching, however you are consuming the content. Hopefully it helps make you some money for this Bengals-Cowboys contest in Dallas that starts in roughly an hour. So we're going to get into a little same-game parlay, find out who Sharapan likes best. Now, I don't even necessarily mean their plays. It's just we're finding out who Dave likes best, who's best he wants to support. Vecchio, It's incredibly personal. It feels personal, I'll tell you that. Vecchio, start us off. What do you have, sir?
So, same game parlay segment. Let's get going. This number, not as big as it was on Thursday. This number is a little bit more in line with what we had last Monday. Let's start off super simple, over 49.5. I like the points in this game. That's what I think we're going to be seeing. And what starts for the points, the scoring, that's becoming Joe Burrow. I altered Joe Burrow's number down a little bit to 250 plus. It is sitting at minus 198. We got to throw it in there. He's averaging 278 per game. And again, I think there's a reasonable storyline that we can build that Burrow wants to lead the league in passing. So we'll start there. Cooper Rush, 225 plus yards. It's sitting on minus 152. We've seen 354, 247, and 195 from Rush in the past 3 weeks. Again, the 195 was last week against the Giants when they were up. Defensive touchdowns and whatnot, so we didn't have to throw the ball that much. And then the main guy for Joe Burrow is going to be, of course, Jamar Chase, 80 plus. A little bit lower than his prop, so sitting at minus 122. We rolled all together. And we get plus 368. And again, Dave, this dates back to what we saw last Monday, where you said you liked mine, but the number was a little bit light. And I'm kind of anticipating that same sentiment from you, where you like the parlay, but we always have to be conscious about the price that we're getting on it. And last Thursday, I took a bigger shot and we went up to 8-1. It didn't come through because the touchdown wasn't there. I think this parlay and the number are good. They're not great. I should say the number's not great. I love the parlay, but the number's good. It's not great.
All right, we'll get Dave's reaction, but of course we have to compare and contrast. And let's give you mine, my SGP. It is actually of a similar number. It's not necessarily similar plays, but similar number. We'll flash it up for the people. We're looking at plus 350-ish as well on FanDuel. Mine is 5 legs. Now, I already mentioned I love the Bengals team total over 27.5 for reasons already explained. I think we're getting to 4+ touchdowns out of Cincinnati. From there, it's some alts. Joe Burrow, 2+ passing touchdowns. He has cleared 3+, as a matter of fact, in each of his last 4 games. We're looking for 2. Again, very correlated, as Tom would tell you, those couple of plays. Chase Brown, rushing yardage. Now, we're going to take him up, not quite, all the way where it would be if you played his rushing straight or his receiving straight. I want to go rushing, receiving combined and take that at 80+, because I just think he is going to be incredibly involved in this game. He has, just for a fun fact here, actually 90+, pardon me, 90+ rushing, receiving out of Chase Brown. Still like it, don't worry. Solid spot, poor run defense on the other side. He's seeing a very heavy workload. In fact, Brown has 47 of the 50 non-quarterback carries dating back over the last 50 attempts on the Cincinnati side. So he is the bell cow back and then some. He is averaging, this is why I had 80 in my head, averaging 80 rushing yards per game over the last 4 games that he has played against top 15 run defenses. That takes us to the other Chase, from Chase Brown to Jamar Chase. This is a dude who has just lit it up on Monday Night Football in 3 opportunities. We're looking for 70+ receiving yards. It's about 10 lower than his actual prop in this game, which is steamed up to a little bit north of 80 at this point in time. Chase, in his 3 career Monday Night Football games, guys, has 29 catches on 34 targets, 408 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is and he's cleared 100 yards receiving in each of those games, but obviously averaging, 133 roughly in those contests. I think he continues to explode. Again, it's all very correlated to the Bengals doing well. We look on the other side quickly for just one play on the Dallas side. Jake Ferguson. He's coming back. Yep. He has had a rapport with Cooper Rush. We'll talk more about him throughout the show, obviously, but he's missed the last 3 games due to a concussion. But in the games prior with Rush, after Dak Prescott went down, listen to some of these numbers. High volume and target share, obviously. He has seen 16 targets in 3 games, 12 catches, 106 yards. So you put all that together, we're looking for 3+ catches. Not going to tackle the yardage. 3+ catches out of Jake Ferguson. Again, that whole parlay, I know it's 5-legger. We're asking a lot, plus 350. So you have mine, you have Tom's. We have a commercial break for Sharapan to put on the listening glasses and fully dissect and consider. And he will come back with ultimately deciding that he likes Tom's bet. We will return on Pro Football Today.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Can we hit on the touchdown market at some point?
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on
I think Higgins is totally
SportsGrid.
fine, but I do want to touch on the touchdown market overall.
The NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look. Like, okay, like what does it mean, like, for the NBA Cup? Like, who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also
good
said
question.
that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that
If I just bet on the Blackhawks, if I just bet against the Rangers every day,
so that he likes
I'll
this
never be
guy
upset.
Brown so much that they may let
Yeah,
him
let's just let's
stay
touch on the
because
touchdown market.
What a
Let's get
disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell coast to coast.
Let's do anytime.
Only
I know a bit
on
about it.
SportsGrid.
Football today here on SportsGrid. So we are of the belief that we have thought this through enough to try and make you some money. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't actually tell you, hey, nobody's going to get hurt or this is how it's exactly going to happen. But this is informed analysis. We've done the research. We've looked at the models, the projections, all of this stuff, and put our brains at work. Can we cash a couple of plus 350 same game parlays? Let's show you mine real quick just to refresh anyone's memories who happen to be just tuning in here. And that includes Dave Sharapan's memory, who's going to weigh in on these SGPs as well. We'll flash it up on the screen here and just recite it again. There we go. Again, over on the Bengals team total, 27.5. Burrow, 2+ passing touchdowns. Chase Brown, 90+ rushing and receiving combined. Jamar Chase, 70+ receiving yards. 3+ receptions on the Dallas side out of Jake Ferguson. And Vecchio's, let's get a look at his. Mine plus 349. We'll see Tom's as well, which is in the same general vicinity, albeit not being quite as greedy as me with the 5 legs. Tom, what's yours one more time?
Up at plus 368 again. Like I said, we're going to see some points tonight over 49.5. Burrow, 250+ yards. Rush, 225+ yards. And Jamar Chase, 80+ receiving yards. Get the main guys involved. Let's get some points on the board tonight.
All right, Dave, pick your favorite kid.
I've got the glasses on. I'll take them off right now. All right, so you see a couple different things there. Both of you stepped a little bit out of your usual comfort zone. Tom's usually a 3-item guy. Adam never really did more than 4. Although the one time you took a shot with a 6-legger. If we're doing like it, love it, or leave it right now, I love both of them. Okay, but you can't love both of them in the same game parlay segment. Adam, you got a couple little speed bumps on there. Okay, you need 2 passing touchdowns from Burrow. He should get that, but in case he only gets 1 and they run them in, that one I'm a little worried about. And then the Ferguson thing is fun and should hit with that gigantic price. But as the book guy, we look for things we don't always see. Him coming back off of injury might have something to do with that. So, you know, I don't know. People can start betting this if they're watching this show every week. But you're right. If I'm picking one, it's Tom. It's Vecchio. It's very general. The game's going over. Burrow all totaled down. Cooper Rush all totaled down. I mean, and Jamar Chase, he's probably going to have that in the first half. So that's got to be the one for me.
I do like them both, I'll admit. Yeah.
Oh, they look good. They look good. Almost as good as this Mets hat does, and how the Mets colors are going to look on Juan Soto. Did I say that out loud? Sorry. It's a football show. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
I mean, without you opening your mouth and hearing the sound of your voice, I mean, I wouldn't even be able to tell the two of you apart as soon as you put that hat on. like looking in a mirror, you and Juan Soto.
Oh,
All
a little
right,
bit
so we've
different.
talked about the total, the sides, and we'll start positional comparisons when it gets to obviously the quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, the tight ends, all that good stuff. But let's get into the anytime touchdown market, because we're sitting here going overs, Cincinnati overs, total game over, points. Cool. Where are they coming from? So Tom, take us through. This is much more your market than it is mine.
Yeah, so when we're looking at the touchdowns, like again, we're dealing with a game total that's 49.5, 50.5, whatever it might be. So the starting point I want to use, and like I've said it so many times, I don't want to be laying minus odds, whether it's Jamar Chase or Chase Brown. They have so many chases, you think we'd be talking about Vinny and drama here, but that's not what we're doing. We want to look at good odds, right? That's what we want. We want to find some good odds. And I want to start with T. Higgins, which was up at plus 130, plus 125 a little bit earlier in the day. I think that's a great spot. But I also specifically like Mike Gesicki at plus 360 for a touchdown.
Wow.
The tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals, he has good red zone involvement. He has good target share overall. We do see Dallas allowing 6 receiving touchdowns to opposing tight ends this season, which is tied for the 4th most in the NFL. We have seen Gesicki be fully involved in the offense. And again, this is a play on the number. He's at plus 360 when we're dealing with a team that is a team total, as Adam said, at 27.5, when we're dealing with a game that is a 49 or 50.5 over under. Some of those players are going to be scoring. Now, there is a scenario where we see Chase Brown have 1, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase has 2, and boom, there's your 4 touchdowns for the Bengals, and no one else scores. But I want to take a shot on the number and I'm personally expecting this game to fly over 50 points. So I think Gesicki is certainly fine. And I will say CeeDee Lamb's number was up at plus 150 earlier in the day, and I think that's totally on the board as well. Again, a team total that's sitting at 21.5, an over-under that's sitting at 49 or 50. Let's take a number 1 receiver at plus 150. I love some of the options tonight.
Yeah. That's good. There's a bunch on there. What I notice when I look at it is, wow, there's 3 guys that are minus money, but the next choices don't even get us to 2-1. I mean, we're going deep with a lot of guys and not a lot of good prices. So the Gesicki shot's not bad. While you were talking that through, I took the advanced step and went to the player to score 2+ touchdowns market, just to see if there might be a floater out there for someone out there listening or watching the show to go, you know what? I like Jamar Chase, but I don't want to lay juice. What if you like him for 2 touchdowns? Currently, it's plus 410. Okay. Or if you want to really take a shot and be, like Patrick's watching the show and he's looking for reasons to take different guys, and he goes, yeah, I like T. Higgins. It might be T. Higgins night. I'm waiting for Vecchio. There's people all over the country, all waiting for Vecchio to say it's a T. Higgins night, because if it's his night, 8-1 on the 2 touchdown market as opposed to their plus 115 on the 1 touchdown market. So pick your Bengal to get 2. I don't know if you could pick a Cowboy to get 2, boys, but there might be one. CeeDee Lamb is getting a touchdown tonight. There's your anytime touchdown tonight from a Cowboy.
Yep. And I have to play spoiler. There's actually I don't have a player for tonight. And part of the times when I say it's a player of the game, historically, when you look back when I've said it this season, DeAndre Hopkins, or we're talking about Javonte Williams when they're on the road against the Saints, those are the players that have high involvement in the offense, and the lines haven't been adjusted yet. When DeAndre Hopkins' line was sitting at 46.5 and went for 80, we can't be taking a player that already has a line sitting at 80.5. There's less room for him to alt him up to get him to 100. Like, we're not getting great odds. But if he's at 40 or 45 and I expect him to go for 70, you get 45, you get 50, you get 60 and 70. And 70 is not a big ask for a receiver in the NFL in 2024. Going from 80 to 100, we're not getting the odds. So we have to play that on the odds side as well.
Floater would be an appropriate term for what my bet slips look like when I do invest in someone to score multiple touchdowns. So I am not going near that market personally, nor am I going near the first touchdown market, but I know it is one that is popular in the space, obviously. So Tom, I'll throw it back to you. Is there someone? I know it's chalky to say like, oh, Chase Brown, but sometimes and look, you're getting plus money because it's a first touchdown play. Obviously, sometimes the chalk does hit. Scotty Scheffler plus 225 or whatever it was just won a tournament this week. Sometimes the chalk does hit. So how do you feel about a first touchdown market, or is this game just sort of so wild and in some ways offensively unpredictable in that you just think there's points coming from everywhere that you wouldn't necessarily want to go to that.
Like I said before, I don't do too many first touchdown bets. Vinny, do we have the odds for the first touchdown? Because I don't have any action on it, but if we have the odds for it, I could certainly tell you where to look. But like you said, taking T. Higgins isn't dramatically different than taking Jamar Chase for one or Chase Brown. I think if you want to be interesting and you want Dallas to score to force Cincinnati to score, let's get Jake Ferguson involved. Back after the 3 concussions, we're probably going to get, I'm say 20-1. If I had to take a guess, we don't have the odds for first, but Jake Ferguson for first
17
touchdown.
Currently.
17 to 1.
Yeah, I'll pull it up quickly for you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's not amazing at 17-1. If you have some type of boost or promo and you can get it over 20, right, that's where I would take it. But 17 is a little bit light. I'd rather take a second at first.
Sure. Gesicki's coming in at 21-1. And I'm looking at FanDuel here, which generally is, in terms of anytime touchdowns or first time, the touchdown market in general, FanDuel is generally the best place for you. Chase Brown is your chalkiest, and that's plus 450. Just something to consider, something to think about. We'll be back.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean for the NBA Cup? Who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
With Dave and Tom, I'm Adam. This is Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid. Getting you ready, leading you up for Bengals and Cowboys in Dallas. Should be a fun one. More fun than those two teams might generally indicate, and I do believe that, especially with two teams who are not yet mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. Can miracles happen? We will see. Miracles are sometimes reserved for our like it, love it, leave it segments, boys. Because I'm the one who's historically given out 21-1 moonshots, that sort of thing. Tom is a bit more reserved, though still looking at plus money opportunities for you. Oftentimes, we give out things that do have a tendency to hit. Let's see if we can continue that. We're not, going to be doing this necessarily every single week going forward. We might be leaving like it, love it, leave it. But right now, we're loving that it's still here. And so with Tom, with Dave, as mentioned, Tom, I know there's something you've been cooking up. What are the expectations for tonight?
Keep it super simple. And again, I'm expecting points. I'm expecting yards. led by Joe Burrow, who's going to be throwing the ball to, the number 1 and number 2 targets on the team when it comes to target share, red zone target share, you name it. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins to combine for 200-plus receiving yards. It was sitting at plus 270. I think it's come down now to plus 240 or so. The yards will be there tonight. And this, the best part about this is it's just combined. We're not dealing with the halves. We're not dealing with the quarters. I went really broad on this one. And Adam, as you alluded to, Jamar Chase goes crazy on Monday Night Football, averaging over 100 yards. So when we have 2 receivers where their props are sitting in the 80s and 70s, wherever it might be, exactly as we get to game time, we're going to be expecting 160 some odd yards combined. Let's push it to 200 plus at plus 240 or plus 270, wherever it is now.
Wow.
What do you think,
okay.
Dave?
Well, I'm looking. Jamar Chase's receiving yards is 84.5, and Higgins is 75.5. I am a math guy. That comes to 160. So you're going for, and that would pay 2.5 to 1. So plus 270, okay. I'd rather you be getting a little over 300 because you're 3 to 1. I mean, because you have to alt the totals.
Right.
I like it because I love it. Actually, I was going to say I just like it, but I love it because we can get one big play, and I think that's what's going to be fun. In addition to the Simpsons broadcast and all this other stuff and whatever else we're in store for. I think we're going to see a couple exploding big plays. Like there will be one. I think longest play over would be something else. Just talking myself through a different thing like that. Someone's going 50-plus today for a touchdown. Wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. Hopefully it's one of these two guys. I love it, Vecchio. We're good. Higgins and Jamar Chase over 200 yards receiving combined. Adam, I can't believe that you don't have a play for us with this segment, and I can't believe we're going to leave the like it, love it, or leave it segment, despite the fact that I love it. It's okay. That's fine. Fun.
There are only so many times within a single show that I'm willing to lose to Tom in your eyes. You try and
I've
impress
loved your plays before.
And impress the ones
you hit
that
it
you love.
21 to 1 shot. Remember when you hit it 21 to 1 shot? I remember
Just
that.
Completely disregarded. It's okay. You know what though? Let's use Tom's play, which I also am very fond of, and parlay that.
Get in the love. Come on, get in there.
I love it. I love it. What can I tell you? What's the heart? Is this the heart?
Oh,
let's
that
use
was nice.
I appreciate it. I never do that. I'm gonna start to though, so I can make it a little more natural for the people and for my kids who obviously can't possibly hear it enough. Let's use that to parlay the conversation into wide receiver talk. We'll get back to the quarterbacks because we've sort of sprinkled that through all the way already. And these wide receivers, and we'll give you a comparison. Of course, the big names, as we know, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, that's the mano y mano. And, a lot of people are supporting and betting the overs for both of these guys. T. Higgins is where I want to begin this, though, as part of obviously what you just gave out, Tom, because he's been more consistent of late, for sure. Yeah. Over his last 3 games, we're looking at 6 of 9 for 86, 7 of 13 for 75. That career game of 11 of 17 for 264. Bananas contest in what was a loss, believe it or not, to the Baltimore Ravens. But before that, a lot of games in the 40s, the 50s, some 30s with a couple of, moonshot kind of games, 193, 118 sprinkled throughout. A little more boom or bust early on in the year and, outside of an injury as well versus the last few games. Do you feel like the last few and what this Bengals offense has been doing overall, obviously, more of an indication of what's to come, at least for the duration of the regular season, which has you leaning toward that 200-plus play?
It does. And, we're getting to the point where, like I said, there are things that the teams potentially want to put on tape or the players want to put on tape as they approach free agency. And there was a report today that your New England Patriots are ready to go over the moon to make T. Higgins an offer this offseason. And what better way to end the season strong, right? Like we're also getting to the point where these players may have contract incentives, not getting hit with a franchise tag, all these sorts of things. So the players going out there and actually doing their best, I am always on board with as we get to these final few weeks of the season. So T. Higgins ending the season on a high note after the contract, the injuries, whatever you want to call it, in the offseason and leading into the season, him going over his number and realistically hitting 90, like that shouldn't shock people tonight. T. Higgins is a tremendous talent. If he hits 90 yards tonight and Chase also hits 100 or some odd yards, like that shouldn't be a shock to anyone tonight, considering the Dallas defense, which has been bad for the majority of the season. Yes, they got Micah Parsons back a couple weeks ago. They are technically better in recent games, but they're still not a good defense overall. So give me the yards tonight for T. Higgins. Absolutely on board with that.
I do have to real quick, Dave, correct one thing. I was, apologies to me and also shame on you guys for not jumping in saying, Koff, dude, what are you doing? I was reciting Jamar Chase's game log. T. Higgins, 69, 148, 82, 77, 83, his last handful. I was, once I saw that 200 plus, I was like, no, I don't remember T. Higgins doing it. I had to, take a double check and, so there we go. But Higgins obviously has put up some big games, some big totals over the last half dozen games. So, Dave, sprinkling quick thought on the receivers, and then we'll come back with more on it.
Well, we'll finish it up after the break, but it was like the movie Animal House. When the Germans, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No, let him go. He's on a roll. Adam, when you were rolling, I just let you go.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to be giving out wrong information. Just like Belushi when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Talking wide receivers and so much more. Bengals, Cowboys on the way from Dallas. And let's keep going and kick it right back to Dave talking about the expectations for this wide-out market. Again, we're of the belief there's going to be points, and it's overs. And so who jumps out to you?
It's not even double secret probation. Another Animal House reference. For those of you that remember the movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's a classic. Haven't seen this before.
Here's two.
I've bet over on me number of times seen it. Absolutely love it. Chase is in the 80s. Higgins is in the 70s. Lamb is in the 60s. And then there is a cliff I mean, it is a huge drop-off down to Ferguson, who was steamed up because that was 35 or 36.5, and it's now 39.5. Everyone else is in the 20s. So we were talking about it during the break, and when you look at these markets and, like, we hated making the numbers for the guys at the bottom. So I can tell you it's not odds makers getting lazy. It's literally odds makers going, these guys all look the same. So do you find Gesicki and go over 24.5? The number's right to be had if that's your guy, because the chances of, I mean, a big game by Chase is over 100, right? So that's only 12 or 14 over his total. A big game by Gesicki, if he gets 50 yards, is double his prop. That's what Vecchio was talking about, the disparity. I agree 100%. And somebody find gold in one of them. I don't know which guy it is. I'm looking. Is it anyone on Dallas? Seriously,
Yeah,
I don't think it is.
I like Jake Ferguson over 37.5 yards. That's where it was earlier. The Bengals, they've allowed the 7th most receiving yards specifically to opposing tight ends, sitting at 783 this year. So again, when we're talking about like Jake Ferguson, 50 plus yards isn't a big ask. It really isn't. That's like one extra catch. He gets to his number 37, a 13-yard catch, puts him to 50 yards. That is a very realistic outcome tonight. And again, he is coming back from injury. We have to take that with a grain of salt, whatever it might be. But we saw the two backup tight ends, Luke Schoonemaker and the other guy, he is escaping me, but we saw Cooper Rush target them heavily in the passing offense over the past few weeks when Jake Ferguson was out. Not everything is going to go to CeeDee Lamb. I know fantasy owners would love to see all the yards and all the passing go to CeeDee Lamb, but that's not the case. We will see good tight end involvement tonight. And we also could look to Brandon Cooks. If his number's super low, there's another player that could realistically get to 40 yards. Really, he's sitting at 27, like 40 yards isn't breaking the bank. Like, it's not like a headline play, but 40 yards is realistic in a game with a 50 over-under tonight.
So I think you're right, and I do like the Ferguson overplay. Maybe not quite as much now that it's up into the low to mid 40s as earlier when it was still in the high 30s. But I think between the two, I'm actually drawn to his receptions, which is over 4.5. I'm looking at minus 108 on FanDuel, and the reason for that, guys, is I already mentioned the volume of passes that he sees with Cooper Rush. I mean, Rush does to a degree lock in on him, at least in the games that he has been healthy. But you look back at some game logs, and I swear, this is Jake Ferguson's game log. Prior to the injury, 4 of 5 against Philadelphia, 4 catches, 5 targets for only 24 yards. The game prior to that, outlier, 7 of 10 for 71. Prior to that, at San Francisco, 6 of 8. You know how many yards he had on those 6 catches? 23. So it's a lot of short yardage gains that Jake Ferguson comes up with. Not a big yak guy, yards after the catch. And there are a lot of instances of these. I mean, even to get to 49 yards in the Meadowlands against the Giants back in week 3, it took 7 catches to get there. So I would rather have the receptions at over 4.5, pretty damn close, Dave, to even money than attack those yards at this point.
I think a lot of people, there's a lesson in there. And it's 1, get the right game log, but 2, sometimes when the number's not right, as far as your comfort level betting, find a different market that does feel better. I like doing that with the receptions. And I think a lot of times, yes, they are correlated, but only at the top guys. So, because that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you could catch a 3-yard pass, I think, right now in the NFL. And Adam, I don't know if your hands are good or not.
Die, literally.
Well, that's true. I mean, if anybody's going to take a hit and get up, it's Vecchio. Because I think I could take the hit and I would hold on to the ball. I just don't know if I could get up and get to the sideline. So that's a very good question right there. We'll look at some other things after the break. I want to pick your guys' brain about the futures and then some other stuff as well.
And an under. We still have to talk about an under.
Yeah. You gave Tom
one.
a
I
homework
can't wait.
assignment at the beginning of the show. Tom discovered an under. He's got an under. I don't know if this is Tom's. I have seen people under on rushing yards for Dowdle today. Find that one kind of
spoiler.
two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We got the NBA Cup going on. Not that anybody really cares per se about the NBA Cup. Now, I got to be honest with you. I actually did try to look of like, okay, like what does it mean like for the NBA Cup? Like who's playing for what here? And I lost interest and I gave up after about 30 seconds. And I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. There's NBA games.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
He also said that the Bears head coaching opening would be the most coveted job after the season.
They'll let that guy stay. I heard today that they were very worried about screwing up Caleb Williams, so that he likes this guy Brown so much that they may let him stay as the head coach. What a disaster that'll turn into.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We've got you for just a little longer here on Pro Football Today. Again, Bengals, Cowboys on the way in Dallas. Wanted to mention for Joe Burrow, we've been talking up his yards, touchdowns. Again, 3+ passing touchdowns each of his last 4 games. Expectations for points, especially on the Cincinnati side. Couple of things on Burrow that I do want to throw out. He's going to face a lot of pressure. Micah Parsons and company, yada, yada, yada. We know that. But did you know, and I'll credit my buddy Laffy over at OddsShopper for pointing this out, that Burrow leads the NFL with an 11-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio against pressure. He thrives against pressure. He has been awesome. He is second in the league in passer rating. But also when it comes to scrambling, his rushing prop is as low as 8.5. And I know I got burned on a higher total, a total more than double that with Justin Herbert last night. But his rushing prop is right around 8.5. And you might be thinking, Burrow rushing? I don't know. Well, one, think back to that game that remember he ran that 50+ yards for that touchdown in a primetime game a few weeks back. But he's in a situation where no team, guys, has allowed more rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks this year than the Dallas Cowboys. Again, just something to think about going into this game. But yeah, we had teased an under. All these overs, how about an under? And Tom, you've got one for Dave.
Yeah, let's go to Rico Dowdle, the Cowboys running back, under 68.5 rushing yards. And you're going to look back over the past few weeks, and we're going to see him going over versus the Giants, going over versus the Commanders. When we actually look at the Bengals defense, and I will harken back to something that we spoke about weeks ago, Adam. The Bengals, they've allowed the 8th fewest rushing yards to opposing running backs, sitting at 1,094 this season. They've actually allowed the 2nd most rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks, sitting up at 411. When we did the Thursday night game between the Bengals and the Ravens, we came into that and you said, that was the 2nd time that they played. You said, we actually have to look at Derrick Henry tonight. What happened the first time that they played that game that went to overtime? They actually kept Derrick Henry under control, and he had the yards because he broke off that late 50-some-odd yard run in overtime to get him that 60 or 70-yard total at the end of it. So the Bengals are, when you look at them allowing 122, I think it is, rushing yards per game, that number is just overall rushing yards. That does not break it down by position. So when you face Lamar Jackson twice, when you face Jalen Hurts, you are giving up rushing yards, but those are not to running backs. That's different. So they're actually good against running backs. They're the 8th fewest total rushing yards allowed to opposing running backs at 1094 this season. So Rico Dowdle, while he has taken full control of the backfield for Dallas, Zeke Elliott's not an issue. We're not worried about Deuce Vaughn. I don't think he will have a massive game on the ground. Can he get to 40 or 50? Sure. But looking back and seeing him have 100+ versus the Giants and 70-some-odd or 80+ versus the Commanders, these are not the same defenses. Take it all in context of the position that they're giving up the yards to.
All right, Dave, why don't we go back to the futures?
Yeah, let's do this real quick, boys. We got a couple minutes, and you talked about this being a playoff relevant game because mathematically they are both still possible to make the playoffs. I mean, whoever loses this game is pretty much done. But look at that AFC Championship winner, and I mean, you could take that's a big number on the Bengals. If you think the Bengals are going to win, and you get that price right there, you leave yourself a nice out moving forward. But when you look at the top of that list, all right, Kansas City, I mean, they keep winning games. Everybody knows their point differential. If you don't, it's 56. And they can't be 12-1, but they are with a 56 point differential, meaning points for and points against. Who on that list, if we get in the DeLorean, hit 88 and the gigawatts and get in there and take Doc Brown, me, and you, who's in New Orleans if it ain't the Chiefs on that list?
We all know the answer. It's the Bills. Like it is the Bills. It is the Bills, and
I think it's the Bills.
Frankly,
I'm with them.
Yeah, and frankly, we're getting to the point where I have to do my shopping around, but finding the exact outcome for the AFC Championship of Bills over Chiefs is something I'm going to be very interested in.
Wait a second. Hold on. Now, let's put the car in reverse. Let's land this thing. You know it's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me. Do I need to remind you that it's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me? Neither one of you even had a thought that it could be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at that price, Adam. Why are you shaking your head, Adam? Adam, what? Now, who doesn't like who, Adam? What's going on right now?
Didn't cross my mind, Dave. Didn't even entertain it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There are probably 3 teams I'd put in there before Pittsburgh, as a matter of fact, that wouldn't even include the Kansas. I put Cincinnati there before I put Pittsburgh there. Listen, I agree with Tom.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine.
I agree with the Bills. How can you possibly, and I know they lost this last game against the Rams, but how could you look at what the Bills are doing offensively and generally defensively, but mostly offensively, and what in particular the future MVP Josh Allen is doing this year, and possibly look anywhere other than Buffalo? They are absolutely, I mean, forget the fact that you're getting a better number than Kansas City, the 2-time defending champs. I think they're better. I think they're a better team. The wrong team's in first place because the Chiefs just keep lucking out. They can't even miss a potential game-winning kick with a doink. It just deflects right in between the uprights. That is how things are going for Kansas City this year. I think the Bills are an incredible team. I think they are having an amazing year. I don't know that I would pick them to win the Super Bowl over the Lions. I still like the Lions better. But in terms of the rest of the AFC, absolutely, it's Buffalo in my eyes.
All right, let's put I've had the Mets hat on all day because I've been celebrating the Mets. Let's put the Dallas Cowboy hat on. Go to the NFC winner, all right? Let's look at that. And what you won't find is the Dallas Cowboys on that list. Rightly so. No shock. But look at all the teams from the AFC or the NFC West. The Niners are there at the bottom. The Seattle Seahawks are there with the Rams at the same price. You mentioned the Lions, and everybody knows about the Eagles. The Eagles are going to find out about the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend when they play in Philadelphia. But Vecchio, if it's not the Lions and it's not the Eagles, who is it on the NFC list for you, sir?
It's the Rams. It's got to be the Rams.
Whoa!
And I made some comments a couple
I was going to
ago.
say the exact same thing.
You guys are cheating!
Vecchio.
I made some comments a couple weeks ago to Donnie Rightside when I was on the early line, filling in for Ben, and I called the Cardinals frauds. And I don't want to say that I'm right, but man, am I right? And the Rams are trending up, and we have some big games in the NFC West coming up. And man, the Cardinals are frauds, and they are. And the Rams are healthy, and they are cooking right now. And you're not going to tell me Matt Stafford with that offense can't win that division. I will take the Rams over the Seahawks, and I will, of course, take the Rams over the Cardinals.
They're going to lose on Thursday. They're going to lose on Thursday to the Niners.
But this division is wide open, Dave. I mean, this is one of the only, I'm just scanning the board on FanDuel. It's the only division that you could still bet all 4 teams to win the division because it is so wide open at this point in time. Look, I'm with Vecchio. I doubled. I already had a preseason ticket on the Rams to win the division and make the playoffs. I doubled down on the Rams a few weeks ago at plus 225, 250, I think it was, to make the playoffs. Now to win the West, we're looking at the Rams at plus 160. This team, when healthy, and I realize that has been a major, qualifier this year with all the injuries that they have had between Kupp and Nakua and just, Stafford and Williams not looking the same without I get it. But you got good coaching, obviously, in Sean McVay, and a very, very, very talented offense. If they're right, if they're healthy, yeah, they could put up a fight with anyone. They almost knocked the Lions out of the playoffs last year, Dave.
This is true. Okay. I think Seattle wins the division. I'm just saying it now. But you guys were right about the Cardinals. That feels good. I'll tell you what else feels good. Over. What's your last thought? Over tonight, boys.
Overs
Joe
around
Burrow,
the board, man. Let's cash overs on everything, Tom.
Joe Burrow over 36.5 passing attempts. Over in 5 straight games. He has multiple games over 50. They have a 64.32 pass play percentage is the 4th highest in the league. It is a Joe Burrow game tonight. 300 plus yards, over 36.5 passing attempts.
Thanks to Vinny, Tommy, Patrick, anyone else behind the scenes who I can't see. We love you. For Dave, Tom, I'm Adam. Enjoy the game, make some money, and don't turn off SportsGrid. More great programming on the way.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun. I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
We live in a society right now where everybody's a snowflake, everybody's a cupcake, and everybody thinks that nothing is fair. Everything is like, it's not fair. We should have a better chance. We need more. You know what? I'm old enough to remember when you needed to have a perfect goddamn record to win a college football championship. That's the way it was. 11-1, too bad.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at Marcus Johnson, when you look at Nikola Jokic, these aren't guys that are big, super athletic, dunking and jumping over people. These are just guys that are clean, skilled footwork, and do things below the rim that make the everyday guy look like it'd be like, I can do that. But you can't, and neither can I.
Betting above the rim, only